Hello, my name is Margaret. I'm the owner of Blue Monkey Tea Company in Pittsburgh. Welcome to my Tea Saturday Live program happening every Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Today, because we are so close to Chinese New Year, which starts on February 12th, I decided to do a special on Chinese teas. That's like I said, great occasion to present and promote some great Chinese teas. So therefore the title of this presentation is Great Teas of China. Probably most of the teas in the world come from China, and that has a lot to do with the long history of tea, discovery of tea in China almost 5,000 years ago. And also the indigenous tea plant, Camellia sinensis, comes only from China. There might be some in other areas, but the majority of tea and the first tea that was discovered growing wild was in China. Camellia sinensis, which actually means Chinese camellia. Some people pronounce camellia. And apparently the legend says, and there's many sources to confirm, that the tea was discovered accidentally by Emperor Shen Nung, 2700 BC, 2737 I believe, while he was resting in his garden and boiling water next to him, because he was a purist and he usually just drank water. Suddenly a leaf from a tree above him fell into the cup, and he tried it, he liked it, he felt rejuvenated, restored, and that's how it all started. He sent servants for more, and that's how people discovered tea in China, long time ago. For many centuries, tea was used in China for medicinal purpose. And not until the Tang dynasty, that was between the 7th and the beginning of the 10th century AD, so much later, tea became more appreciated, and for not just for its medicinal purpose, but for its flavor, aroma, effect on mind, spirituality. It played large, significant role in religion, especially in among Buddhist monks. Monks loved tea because it was considered to be very nourishing for mind, body, spirit, but also prevented them from falling asleep during long prayers, and that was very important to stay awake. Until the 3rd century AD, so I'm going back a little bit, the tea was mostly prepared in China from wild tree leaves, but eventually it became so popular and demand had increased, that tea started being cultivated by farmers, usually small holding farmers, pretty much the only ones at that time. And the leaves were at that time steamed, crushed, and mixed into paste with plum juice. Eventually it was poured into molds and compressed into cakes and baked dry. After that, tea was, before the tea consumption, those cakes forms would be crushed again into powder and pretty much just boiled with water and consumed that way. Often other ingredients were added, such as salt, sweet onions, clove, orange peel, peppermint, ginger, salt, and onions. How about that? And there were a lot of studies done on tea, poems, books written about tea, especially during Tang Dynasty. The first book on tea was written by poet Lu Yu, and it was called Cha Chang, translated translation is the classic of tea. That book is still available. You can actually purchase it. I just looked it up today. Of course, the editions were changing, and but it's the original book was written over 1,000 years ago, I believe. There was another poet, Lu. His first name was Lu as well, Lu. Tuong, T''Ung. He was nicknamed Tea Maniac because he actually devoted his life to poetry and to tea drinking, preparation and drinking of tea. And his famous saying was, "I'm in no way interested in immortality, but only in a taste of tea. I'm in no way interested in immortality, but only in the taste of tea." That was more important. Many times tea was, there were special tribute teas that were plucked, harvested, and prepared specifically for emperors, and they were called imperial teas, and the plucking was done by young virgins that were wearing gloves and using golden scissors to cut very delicate, just the top leaf and the bud teas. And those were considered the purest, the best teas for emperors. In fact, if you see names of teas right now with either emperor or imperial in the name, that means that these are very, very high quality teas. Okay, so I'm going back to a tea preparation. I told you in the beginning they used teas that were, kind of powdered and then pressed into cakes, and the preparation was just to grind them, chop them up, crush them again, mix with water and drink like that. Eventually, those that they were ground into fine powder and prepared like in Japanese tea ceremony, not just by drinking just powder with water, but also by whisking it with a special whisk. And this type of tea preparation and drinking, as we know, became also very popular in Japan, and it is until now. And eventually they start steeping tea by just steeping leaves and drinking the liquid. And believe it or not, until Ming Dynasty, there were also only green teas. And eventually they developed black tea processing, and also they started making scented teas. But I'll talk about scented teas in a little bit, because pure and traditional Chinese teas, they don't have any flavor added to them. They're only the only flavor and mostly actually aromas added by combination of tea with flowers. Now also utensils were changing. Long time ago they used wooden bowls to drink their tea. Then they used ceramic or porcelain bowls. And about 500 years ago, so quite recently, teapots were developed. And one of the first teapots used were Yixing teapots. I'm going to show you how to spell that. Yixing, spelled Y-I-X-I-N-G. Of course, that's Americanized spelling. That's not how it's written in Chinese. Yixing teapots. Yixing teapots are made from special clay found in the area of Yixing City, and otherwise called Zisha or purple clay. But even though it's called purple clay, it comes in various colors. And I have some examples of Yixing teapots. Most of them are very simple in shape and also very small, but they can be pretty elaborate, and often they will have a theme of animal, dragons. This one is very unique. It actually is an owl. Yixing teapot, and all the colors you see in it are from natural clay. So it could have various colors like beige, reddish brown, blue, even green or black, like this one here. Pretty cool. What's nice about Yixing teapots is that they have very good heat retention. They are unglazed. They have porous surface inside, so that's another factor that contributes to heat retention. Also, they get seasoned with tea, and some say that a good Yixing teapot is supposed to make you tea after a while without even using tea leaves. And so, good idea is to actually get several teapots and use each one of them for different type of tea. Okay, let's just leave maybe one of them. Hi, Buddha. How are you doing? Whoop, no, I can hear myself. Clay teapots still made. They're actually handmade, but China also developed a recipe for making porcelain, and the Western countries were jealous because they didn't know how to make it. So first porcelain, as we call it, China, came from China as well. Another vessel used to make tea is Gai Wan. Gai Wan. It's basically a bowl with a lid on the saucer. And the way to make tea in Gai Wan, I will tell you briefly about the Gong Fu tea ceremony right now. Gong Fu Chinese tea ceremony, tea preparation. It's either by using a small teapot, usually Yixing teapot, or Gai Wan. And the way to prepare tea in and I have this beautiful beautiful Gong Fu tray with a dripping tray underneath used for this type of ceremony. But I'm not going to go into more detail. There is a separate class on Gong Fu tea ceremony. You can watch it on, I believe it's already on our YouTube channel, Blue Monkey Tea YouTube channel, and if not, we'll make sure it gets on it. But I've done this class at least once or twice before. So just briefly, in the Gong Fu tea style tea preparation, they use more tea, probably twice as much tea as if you would be using for a mug, and they pour water. There's also a quick rinse, adding more water, steeping for a very brief period, anywhere from like 5 seconds to maybe 30 seconds, and pouring tea into another cup. And you can repeat steepings, just keep adding water, extend the steeping time, and make more tea. This is a wonderful way of making tea because you can control your steeping, you can observe the color, you can inhale the aroma. It's much better way to explore tea. There's also some actually drink straight from Gaiwan, but it could be pretty hot, or even straight from Yixing teapot when it's really small. I am presenting, trying to be very colorful and entertaining, as you know. Sometimes I go a little crazy here. Okay, so this is Kung Fu way of drinking tea, very popular until even nowadays in China. And we love it too. I talked to you about virgins. I talked to you about Emperor Sheneng, about books. Did I talk about books? Probably not. No, I think I did. Okay. Okay. Let's move on to actual teas. Let me present to you some of the great teas of China. And I wonder if we can do a close-up on these teas that I have here. I have 10 teas here to show you. One of the best teas out there, and one of the most popular teas purchased by our customers. There's several of my favorites. Actually, they're all my favorites. So let's do a little close-up. This is white tea called Silver Needle. This is green tea called Bi Luo Chun. This is Imperial Dragonwell green tea. This is Monkey Pig Golden Hunan. This is Kimon Three Monkey. This is Lasang Suchong Smoky Tea. This is Da Hong Pao, otherwise called Big Red Robe Oolong. And this is yellow tea. And this is Jasmine Dragon Pearls. And we're just going to move on from here. And I will discuss each one of these teas individually. So let's start with the Silver Needle. Okay. Silver Needle, white tea made only from buds. There's no leaves, just the youngest, the most tender part of the tea plant, otherwise called Bai Hao Yin Zhen. And it's pretty sweet, very delicate, mellow. It has floral and also like honeysuckle, floral honeysuckle notes. The reason why this tea is sweet is that in those buds there's quite a bit of sugar. Sugar is used as energy for the buds to open up into leaves. So that's why those white teas made only with buds are sweeter usually than other teas that are also made with leaves. Next tea is Bi Luo Chun. Bi Luo Chun, that's a green, otherwise translates into green snail spring. Spring, because they're slightly rolled, and they do look like little snails. They are, what they do around these tea plantations, they between the bushes, they also plant fruit teas like peach, plum, apricot, and they are in full blossom when young leaves are unfolding, growing, and those young leaves absorb their fragrance. So it's a very, very special tea. And therefore, when you taste this tea, you can actually taste those fruity and floral notes. It's also very delicate, very sweet. Let's move on to Imperial Dragonwell Lang Cheng. This is a very high grade Dragonwell. There are some other grades. They're also excellent, but this is the highest, called Imperial. And it comes from West Lake region in Zhejiang province. Zhejiang. And it's rich, kind of vegetative, smooth, but also sweet. There, I have to tell you that pretty much all the teas that I'm showing today, talking about, there's no bitterness, no extreme grassiness, but that's the quality of these high, high grade teas. And remember, you have to brew them in the proper way because you don't want to burn, for example, these green teas. But I'm not going to talk about steeping instructions. If you would like to learn more about those basic tea facts, I have a class on, right now it's on Blue Monkey Tea channel called Tea 101. So I recommend that you watch it. Next I have Big Red Robe. Actually, let's move on with in the sequence. Monkey picked Golden Hunan. Monkey picked Golden Hunan. That's a black tea. It has a lot of tips in it. That's why you see those lighter specks. And it's mellow, but very, very full-bodied, rich. It's lightly oaky. And it has very delicious kind of lingering toasty finish. But every steep will be different, trust me. This is a tea to explore. And why is it called monkey picked? Because a legend says that in old times, teas that were grown on high altitudes among rocks, very hard to reach, and monkeys were supposedly helping to pick. And that's why probably one of the reasons our store is called Blue Monkey Tea. One of the reasons. We just like blue monkeys. Okay, so now let's move on to Ki-Moon 3 Monkey. Ki-Moon 3 Monkey is a black tea from Anhui province. Fine, sturdy leaves, full leaves. That's what's nice about this tea, that there's not too many broken leaves, and it has slight orchid-like aroma, but many people also perceive a slightly smoky notes in that tea. It's a very, very interesting tea. I call it fresh, crisp, full-bodied, one of the most amazing teas. Totally recommend trying. In fact, of course, all the teas that I'm talking about today are available in our store here in Pittsburgh, or also you can buy them on our website, www.bluemonkeytea.com, and our shipping is only $5. This is year 2021, so I'm not sure if people are watching this video in future, the price might go up or down. Lapsang Souchong, next wonderful Chinese tea. As some of you already know, maybe you already had it, it's a smoky tea. The way to make this tea is to smoke the leaves with the smoke coming from burning pine needles or cones, and it gains this wonderful specific mild smoky aroma, and it is very that smokiness kind of adds another dimension to this black tea flavor. It's usually, sometimes it's not loved from the first sip, but trust me, you can get used to it and you can really enjoy it. It pairs really well with sweets, something like baklava or those like Indian cheese balls for dessert. Speaking of sweets, I'm taking a little break right now. Paula says that, Evelyn says it's an tea and chocolate tasting kit, because next Saturday I'm doing a very special event, tea and chocolate pairing, because next Saturday is the day before Valentine's. It's a Valentine's weekend, and we're going to have chocolate and tea pairing, and there are kits available if you still want to purchase them. and do the tasting and pairing along with me. And those kits contain 3 types of chocolate: white, milk, and dark, and also 6 types of tea. You can check it all out on our website, and of course it's posted as event on Facebook. Great gift for Valentine's, great way to spend Valentine's with someone we love. Okay, back to tea. Can I have a jar with yellow tea? Because I don't think I got it here. It's very interesting tea. But before we do that, let's talk about Big Red Robe, otherwise called Da Hong Pao. Big Red Robe is a type of oolong. It's a darker oolong, a little more oxidized. It has a faint, delicate aroma of a green tea, but mellow, toned down taste of black. The legend, there's several stories on how this tea was created. But generally, it usually involves some kind of higher up, the member of the royalty, some kind of emperor who happens to get some of this tea and discover that was helping him for his medicinally, for some kind of health problem. And he liked this tea so much that he offered his beautiful red robe at some point to cover bushes. There was only probably, I'm not sure how many bushes he could cover, but if you guys find a better story, a better explanation, let me know. But Da Hong Pao means big red robe. This tea is very priced. There's still original tea bushes from way back when that tea was first discovered, but it's super expensive. I'm probably never gonna have it, but there are cultivars. There are actually plants, children from these original plants. I think there was 3 or 4 grown from cuttings. So that's where ours come. And the leaf is beautiful. It has very, like I said, it almost smells, has a fragrance, aroma like green tea, but it's very mellow, smooth, toned down like black tea. Evelyn talks about Crime of Passion. Yeah, we have some of those names around here. This is one of our Valentine's teas. Okay, moving on. Next, let's talk about yellow tea. Yellow tea is a special kind of tea. It's not a green tea, it's not a black tea. It's yellow tea. There's one more step in processing of this tea, like a short fermentation period. Otherwise, it's very similar to green tea, but because of that short fermentation, it it softens and mellows it out, so it doesn't have those grassy kind of pungent notes in it. It's a very unique tea. And now I want to discuss pu'er tea. I have a class on pu'er tea. It's aged tea, so after tea leaves are processed, they will be pressed into either cakes like this, discs, or they could be pressed into bricks, tea bricks, and stored in a humid, dark environment for additional fermentation, aging, sort of like wines. And they gain this specific kind of earthy and very, very smooth flavor. They're kind of oaky, and they have very, very deep taste, flavor. It's very, very smooth and deep flavor at the same time. They have absolutely no astringency. If this tea that I showed you, the cake, was 20 years or older, called sort of like, I think they call them vintage pu'er, it would, the price of this would be probably somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000. But ours I think are about $40 for cakes. Speaking of tea types, Chinese tea types, interestingly, they don't call black tea like we, black tea. They call it red. Black tea is usually pu'er. So if you ever travel to China and you want to get a cup of black tea, you actually have to ask for a red tea. A little confusing for us, but I just thought I'll mention that. And some other teas, they're very characteristic for China. Pure teas, scented with flowers. So they don't really, the true pure high quality teas don't have flavors added to it. But they can be scented, like this one here, Jasmine Dragon Pearls. This is tea that has jasmine, mostly fragrance, aroma, and that comes from blending tea with jasmine flowers. But there's something interesting with a high quality jasmine like this one. There won't be any jasmine flowers in it because the highest quality jasmine tea is scented. They do it several times. They layer leaves and with they lace them with jasmine flowers. Leave it like this, heat it up a little bit, then remove the flowers, then they add more flowers. It's a very, very complicated, very long process, but those highest quality jasmine teas are not supposed to have any jasmine flowers in them, just this very clean, strong, intense jasmine, mostly fragrance. The other flowers used for scenting teas are rose petals, osmanthus, lychee. So wonderful. And all those there's many hundreds and maybe thousands of teas created in China. I'm reminding you, they all come from the same plant. The differences are from differences in cultivars and differences in stemming from terroir and processing of the teas. Okay, this I think I'm heading coming almost to conclusion here, and I just want to say that I'm very grateful for all these teas from China, thanks to this long history, discovery of tea by Emperor Shennong, and farming, harvesting, and careful preparation. And it's a huge skill. It's a big skill, and many Chinese have the skill to make these teas, and it's just a wonderful assortment to discover, and I recommend that you guys try these teas. If you are used to having flavored teas, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but I encourage you to try pure teas like those I presented today. Happy Chinese New Year! Thank you for listening. This was a presentation about famous Chinese teas. I hope it will help you choose good qualities and try them. That was Margaret from Blue Monkey Tea Company in Pittsburgh. See you next time.